these were the undisputed, fundamentals of God. And they said that they pulled it out of the flower of life. I want you guys to know about a 6,000-year-old secret. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years.
Terrence Howard unveils his 45-year quest to unlock the hidden frequencies embedded within the flower of life, revealing the elusive wave conjugations sought after for millennia.
Well, science is to explain natural phenomena.
Okay.
The whole point of science was to explain natural phenomena, and it should coincide with what takes place in the observable universe. And that should strengthen one's faith. I mean, you got to remember, we've been here since the very beginning. There is no good or bad. It's just your perspective that you're sitting from. Is it beneficial for everyone around, or is it not? Well, apparently I did that at the last passage, because when I came into this life, I woke up, remember, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And the first thing I did was work out the flower of life. When I was 6 years old, I started making these pieces. There's something that has to build up, and there's something that needs to tear it down. What we call the tearing of it down, we call it evil or bad, but that's the process of magnetism or radiation.
Howard delves into the duality of creation and destruction, emphasizing the intricate balance required for cosmic harmony.
If you lose that little spark that kept you motivated, that little piece, like this is my vocation. I love acting half the time, but there's some downfalls of it. A lot of actors end up with personality identity crisis and conflicts because you have so many characters you're playing.
Secrets buried within the flower of life captivated minds throughout history, from Newton's clandestine pursuits to Pythagoras' fervent quest for enlightenment.
I want you guys to know about a 6,000-year-old secret. 6,000 years, mankind has been trying to decipher this one little thing called the flower of life. Now, do you know the flower of life? Have you guys ever seen this before? Now, this is one of the oldest symbols in human history, right? Or do you not know? This symbol was found in the Temple of Osiris in Egypt, and it had been molecularly burned into the wall. And it's 6,000 years old. This same symbol has been found in the forbidden temples in China, sitting under the foo-foo dogs, and the foot on it, the flower of life, saying whoever controlled that flower of life controlled the universe. There were secrets in that flower of life that Da Vinci spent his whole life trying to uncover. There were secrets in that flower of life that Newton spent his whole life in secret trying to uncover. The same secrets that Pythagoras was desperately trying to uncover. But the problem was, they kept seeing this in a two-dimensional space. They couldn't get it out of this two-dimensional frame, and as a result, they got stuck in this plane, a flat plane. Now, what Da Vinci and all of them wanted to do, they were trying to find a way to bring this flower to life, because what is inside of it? Well, apparently, there were secrets inside of it. Shapes, they got the Merkaba and all of those other things out of it, but they were misled by something I think called a straight line.
Howard challenges conventional thinking, urging us to abandon Euclidean notions and embrace the natural curvature of the universe.
You guys believe in straight lines? You believe there's straight lines in the universe? Well, let me hit you with something. All energy in the universe is expressed in what? It's in motion. If something is still, there's no energy. Kinetic, right? All motion is expressed in what? You look at galaxies, are they expressed in straight lines? Expressed in vortices. All vortices are expressed in what? Waves. All waves are curved. Show me a straight line in nature. You show me where the platonic solids come from. Where do they have their foundations in our universe? Are there any straight lines? If you look at anything, there are no straight lines. That's been the mistake. We've been looking at these straight lines, this Euclidean way of thinking, and missing the curvature of nature. So here we are, back with the curvature of nature. And you have all these little pieces. Now, this has always been an information system. So compare some of these points. Take a point here and say, well, what's the space in between all of these things? Now, they've said that all the in-between spaces, if this is the Earth and this is the moon right here, all this in-between space is filled with what? A void. There's nothing in the void. Well, I found that there is something in the void. The elementary fundamental particles that they've been searching for at the CERN collider, the Hadron Collider in CERN, I found that their energy signatures matched perfectly to some of the pieces that I was able to pull out of here.
Reflecting on the origins of religion, Howard traces its roots to astrology and astronomy, endeavors to decipher the mysteries of the heavens.
We were told as witnesses, you got to stay away from astrology, stay away from astrology. And I'm like, why stay away from astrology? Why do I need? Because they told the truth about Christmas, told the truth about Easter, told the truth about holidays, all of this stuff. But why stay away from astrology? Well, it turns out all religion has come from astrology, and the astrology was astronomy. And they were trying to make sense of the heavens and how time passed in these bodies. And it turns out the sun, going through the 12 constellations, they anthropomorphized those 12 constellations and they became disciples.
Da Vinci's futile attempts to bend straight lines epitomize humanity's struggle to perceive the inherent curvature of space.
I mean, everyone keeps trying to tell me, don't say it's forever. But I've spent 37 years pretending to be people so that people can pretend to watch and enjoy what I'm doing when I've made some discoveries in my own personal life with the science that, Pythagoras was searching for. I was able to open up the flower of life properly and find the real wave conjugations that we've been looking for 10,000 years. Why would I continue, walking on water for tips when I've got an entire generation to teach a whole new world?
That's a big remark.
Yeah.
What do you intend to do?
Well, let me put it this way. All energy in the universe is expressed in motion. All motion is expressed in waves. All waves are curved. So where does the straight lines come from to make the platonic solids? There are no straight lines. So when I took the flower of life and opened it properly, I found a whole new wave conjugations that expose the in-between spaces. It's the thing that holds us all together.
Howard unveils groundbreaking discoveries linking the flower of life to the wave-particle duality, providing irrefutable evidence of its cosmic significance.
The idea of, like one of the things I've been saying, the Euclidean mindset has kept us so locked away. Like there's tons of paperwork of Da Vinci working on the flower of life and trying to unravel it. But every single existence, every single example, you see him making straight lines and trying to make these straight lines bend in, and therefore he was never able to open it up. Because the universe is curved, all space is curved. And as a result, what I was doing in trying to find these straight lines, I abandoned the idea of the straight line. The shortest distance between 2 points is curved space, because you cannot force your way straight through space. Even electricity, as it moves from a southern plane to a northern plane, it always goes northeast in its direction. And magnetism, as it expands out, it goes southwesterly. And that's the spin. That's how you always know whether it's magnetism or electricity. It's the spin. Is it northeast or is it southwest? But in trying to define curved matter, I'm so sorry, I get so distracted. Trying to define the spaces, it allowed me to see that all of these in between, what we have been dealing with is these petals. All of mankind have dealt with these petals, but it's these other shapes that we've ignored constantly. Well, those other shapes were the in-between spaces. They were the things that filled up the vacuum of space. And all these particles that I have, I think are the full proof of that. And it is also the full proof of the wave particle argument.
Through meticulous research, Howard unravels the complexities of the electric and plasma fields, shedding light on the foundational principles of the universe.
No, because I don't identify with average. You know, I don't identify with that. When I look in the mirror, I see the creator.
Okay.
You know, I don't see anything short of the creator. There's not one part of me that wasn't made from the creator. So there's not one part of me that's not perfect. Now, maybe my perception and understanding isn't there because I've allowed myself to be influenced by other things, but I see myself in the most humble way as being directly from the creator, and I see everyone else and everything else as being directly from the creator. Even the plastic that makes this up, that carbon is still vibrating at the key of E, breathing in and breathing out. We look at this and call it, but that grounding effect is the life principle continuing on in it. So when I recognize that this is alive, it recognizes that I'm alive, and I recognize that this carries the same nature of the creator, then it recognizes that in me. And so there's an equanimity, you know, and I don't see myself above a piece of tissue or below the creator himself.
Disrupting conventional wisdom, Howard challenges the notion of supersymmetrical systems, highlighting the discrete symmetry inherent in Platonic solids.
Being able to define the entire electric field or the plasmic field and patent it. And the things that I discovered with that prove that the Platonic solids, which our entire infrastructure is built off, were only averages and approximations, and that all of the postulates and axioms they've built off of are erroneous. And being able to present that, but also being given the blessing of defining the magnetic field, the feminine side, and patenting those, the expansion or the unfolding of the universe. But then being given the opportunity to define the neutral that sits between it, or the Constitution, which is the linchpin that mitigates between the micro, which is the electric world, and the macro, which is the magnetic world. And this works as a bridge, a common factor between. So having discovered and patented the grand unified field equation, and putting it into practice and building all of these new industries that have come from it, from transcendental lighting to tangential flight, to in supersymmetrical systems. I've patented 4 supersymmetrical systems. And a supersymmetrical system it always aligns. That's how the universe behaves. And according to science, there are no supersymmetrical systems because the Platonic solids have a thing called discrete symmetry. And for everybody out there,
I was just about to say,
the Platonic solids were 5 polygons that that are based upon straight lines and flat planes.
Howard urges critical examination of religious texts, advocating for questioning and interpretation to uncover the true essence of their teachings.
And there are the tetrahedron, the hexahedron or the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron. Now, for millennia, since the days of Pythagoras and the days of Plato, these were the undisputed, fundamentals of God, and they said that they pulled it out of the flower of life. Now, my biggest question, another thing based on what's my greatest accomplishment, would have been to question mathematical fallacy that 1 times 1 equals 1. Because how could an action times an action not have a reaction? Because every action has a natural reaction. So I was like, how did they come up with this irrational and an illogical set of things? If to multiply means to make more, then how can 1 times 1 equaling 1 be part of a multiplication table? It fails to satisfy the term multiply. So questioning that, and in the first, second, third grade, as I came along, that courage towards curiosity and an unbridled passion towards finding the truth, which therefore the Bible or any other book has to be held You have to question it and make sure that everything that it says and purports to be is what it is. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, if my child would have been sick and needed blood, I wouldn't have given him blood because of Genesis 9:4 about not putting blood in your body. Our planet is moving away from our sun at 6 inches a year. You guys know that. 15 centimeters a year, our planet is pushing away from the sun. So in less than 500 million years, our planet will be out of the Goldilocks zone. We'll be somewhere near where Mars is, somewhere halfway between there. So life will not be able to be sustained on this planet anymore. Not just interplanetary, you have to become interstellar. But with approximations, you cannot become interstellar. You cannot become interstellar with a point that will take you all the way over here with a straight line when the actual event is taking place over here. When you're going 600 quadrillion miles, you can't make a mistake. You need precision. And that's what the math is about. These pieces predict the natural distribution of matter and the distribution of where you can find yourself in that space. And I'm confident behind it. For 40 years, I've worked on this. And I think it's ready. And I came out and I was born. The first thing I thought about when I was 5 years old, I was obsessed with bubbles. I was like, why does a bubble take the shape of a ball? Why not a square or a triangle? And I would go and try and make square or triangular bubbles. And you could never do it because it turns out everything expands as a sphere and everything contracts in geometric form. You drop a pebble into the pond, it expands in a perfect sphere unless there's something in the way. The moment it hits the edge of the shore and starts to come back, it's the contracting waves that hit the expanding waves that creates the initial geometries. Everything expands as a sphere, everything contracts in geometry and fits, basically. So what I'm saying, and what I tried to tell you guys earlier, this is not your first time, it's not your first rodeo, and it won't be your last rodeo. Don't panic in this life. You can actually, there's no sense of everything goes to sleep and it wakes back up again. Refolds and unfolds, refolds and unfolds. And if you're wise, if you're careful, because you can remember conscious moments in your life, can't you? You can remember moments when you're like, wait a minute, I'm in a bigger space than just this little body right here. You become fully aware of everything around you. And if you quiet yourself, you can think about those things. Well, apparently I did that at the last passage because when I came into this life, I woke up, remember, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And the first thing I did was work out the flower of life. When I was 6 years old, I started making these pieces. What Da Vinci tried to do at 80, I did at 6 years old because I had been working on it perhaps from a past life. Now, I'm not trying to say I'm crazy or there's reincarnation or anything, but we know that energy just reboots itself. So we are eternal. So stop panicking, thinking your life is over. You've done this trillions of times. You'll get good at it and we'll be perfect one time if we get conscious. We have to get conscious. Because I can either say I'm the smartest man in the world that I figured out what nobody else in the world could figure out. With Aristotle, with Plato, Pythagoras, all of them tried to figure this out. But I know I am not smarter than these men. So I know that there's something to the consciousness of carrying things through. Because the information and the knowledge that I have, I didn't go to school. I had a 1.6 grade point average graduating from high school because I had other things to do. But this information kind of educated me along the way because I was born into it. And now I have the pieces to follow it. And hopefully Chris and maybe Oxford and will do some of the vetting for these things and we can change the world. But if not, I'll keep doing it and I'll do it in the next lifetime. If not this one, in the next lifetime after that. Just remember, and another thing, don't forget, you go from positive to negative, everything polarizes positive to negative, then more than likely, with each lifetime, male to female, male to female, if the universe is consistent. I think it is. Well, you know, it's funny, I actually patented 1 squared. All these things that I showed you guys, I've patented all these things. You know why I patented them? Because in 1926, a man named Walter Russell wrote a book called The Universal One, and in it he introduced an entirely new periodic table. And there he introduced the 2 heavy water elements, and then plutonium and deuterium. Both of those, all 4 of those elements that had never been discovered, he sent out to 800 different universities in his book. 2 years later, he watched as other people came and got Nobel Prizes for his work. Why? Because he didn't patent it. He didn't copyright it. So I copywrote all these things and patented all these things before bringing them to you. They are true, and I think there's some value to them. I don't know why I said that. Did I? Yeah, it's the decimal system that's off. The money is, there's nothing wrong with the money, but how we deal with the money. But if you can divide money, you can multiply it. It works hand in hand. And this is all legal. Do you think it's not happening in the banks? This is what 1 times 1 equaling 1 has got us. This inconsistency of our monies and our economy is sitting in the balance. And the rest of our future is sitting in the balance because our science has been stunted as a result of the problems in mathematics, because math asks for the basic laws of physics to break down in order for 1 times 1 to equal 1. In order for 1 times 0 to equal nothing, laws of conservation of energy has to disappear. And math is, the foundating laws of math is supposed to support the laws of physics. They are arm in arm. They cannot be in controversy with each other. So we need an audit on the platonic solids. We need an audit on the square root of 2. And we need an audit on action and reaction. Or we either got to get rid of, we say 1 times 1 equals 1, and there's no action and reaction. One or the other. You can't have both. And until we make that change, we're in trouble. We're going to be stunted as a species. What I've done is I've figured out about 7 different elementary particles, fundamental particles. And then there were secondary generational particles that seemed to occur. And when these things began to build up more and more, they began to create their own systems. And these systems is what I brought to Oxford because I would like for you guys to examine them, put them to test. Because I bet you will find all the fundamental particles that they've been looking for in the unified theory of the universe. It's a big statement, but I've got a lot of stuff to back it up if given the opportunity to do so. But the flower of life has been opened, and when we get an opportunity, I'd love to show you some of these things. Can I go on?
Yeah, you good?
Mm-hmm. I can't, without being able to show the pieces, it's a whole different monster. But all of these wave conjugations, all of these states of matter, all of these things, it's time for that to be changed now. We have changed all of our buildings to be aerodynamic. Our airplanes are no longer based on a 2-dimensional Euclidean way of life, but our math is still based on a 2-dimensional way. And I think in order for us to reach the future, we have to examine that. Do you guys know about loops in math? Do you believe in loops? Do you know the square root of 2? Do you think that's a loop? The Bible is supposed to be the inspired word of God. Therefore, if what you find one lie in there, then you have to call into question everything else that's been placed there. And I'm not sure that that is the history of the Creator. Mm-hmm. And I think the Creator is so much more expansive than that. And one thing that we all need to recognize, perfection cannot create imperfection. Mm-hmm. It cannot make any immortality, or eternal cannot create something that is non-eternal. Okay. You know, and everything inside the universe is alive. And what people don't recognize is that the entire universe is the Creator, and we are part of that, so we are the Creator. within it. And when we do good, then God is good. But when we do bad, God works in mysterious ways. But once you recognize the divinity within you, then the universe behaves as if you have the authority. And that's why it's so important to keep your word. And what Jesus was trying to tell everybody was that you are God. Any other number that you, above 2, that you put in and you cube and you square and divide by 2, by the 6th operation, it has moved into an exponential number that you can't even imagine. Any number below 2 that you do that same operation with, it will go into an exponentially small matter and number. This is what we call a loop. It is illogical, it doesn't make sense, and it does not make math make sense. So these are some things that I'm bringing to the fore and that I would like to question. I would like to audit the math, the world of mathematics, and I would like to audit how we view the Platonic solids, because I think the new wave conjugations will tell a better story of how our world works.